We have the article "Does Britain Have a Problem with Anti-Chinese Racism" by Ivan Fowler, published on the 5th of April 2021 on the newspaper Hong Kong Free Press. The article starts out with a real life example from the author himself, where he had experienced abuse from a gang of youths. However, this was not the only time this was going to happen. Later that day, another Asian was assaulted, which was motivated by the coronavirus pandemic in Britain. The author then goes on by questioning himself whether the youth's crime were motivated by racism or if they were already out to cause trouble in the first place. The article questions whether there is an actual increase in racism against Asians or whether there is just a greater tendency and a trend to report these hate crimes. Furthermore, some people could be more sensitive than they were a year ago, maybe because of the actions in Beijing, Hong Kong, Xinjiang, which also could be an answer to the increase in hate crimes against Asians. The article then ends with the author doesn't want to see racism defined as one of Britain's values, but want the much wider community of people who do not tolerate racism of any sort to be the reflection of Britain's values. So pretty much the article gives us an insight into how it is to be Asian in Britain. In the article we hear about how Asians are discriminated against because of the race and the pandemic. They are blamed for the emergence of the coronavirus. In proportion of the genre, the article first and foremost belongs to the genre opinion. More specifically, it's an article. Articles serve the main purpose of informing the reader and is mainly written by journalists, which in this article both are valid in our example. The narrator or point of view uh, is that the purpose with the article is to inform the reader, as the article has a clear structure and provides sufficient evidence supported by facts, additional research, and experiences. In addition to this, the author is very reflective and critical, which is seen in this example. I will just read the example. I find all of them troubling and all deserve condemnation, but are they representative, as has been claimed, of a 300% rise in hate crimes against people of East Asian heritage? This widely quoted figure is in fact a calculation put forward by End of the Virus of Racism, an advocacy group. Home Office figures, which do not break down hate crime by ethnicity, record an 8% increase. This smaller figure is also on trend with recent years. According to the Home Office, recent rises are driven by improvements in crime recording and a better identification of what constitutes a hate crime. The upward trend corresponds with the time these changes were introduced. If this is the case, last year was not so out of the ordinary and may not actually represent growing racism, but rather a growing sensitivity to and willingness to report and prosecute hate crime. In this example, it is seen that the author doesn't believe everything he reads and is very critical, especially about researchers, and tries to find other solutions than racism to why there could be an increase in hate crimes. In proportion to the structure of the article, the structure of our article consists of an announcement, introduction, presentation, and a conclusion. The article starts out with an announcement where the overall topic or theme is announced. This can be as simple as a sentence, though not always, and is the opening statement of the piece. In effect, this introduces the question which the article itself will answer later on. After the announcement, there's an introduction where the writer introduces his take on the topic. This does not answer the question he have insinuated, nor does it summarize the article, although it can do. More effective is to offer a brief of where the piece is going, which is done in this article. After the announcement, there is a presentation where the writer presents his arguments and findings, offers opinions and facts. Much like a story would feature a subplot, an article can go off on a tangent and can change topic if required. However, as the presentation draws to a close, it must begin to return to its original question, which is what exactly is happening in this article. The author comes broadly about hate crimes and COVID 19 and some other topics related to COVID 19 and is going on a sidetrack sometimes, but as the conclusion is approaching, the author returns to the original topic, which is much more focused. At last, there's a conclusion where the author reflects over the topic and the different perspectives he has listed in the article. The article affects a wide audience and is primarily for those who would like to broaden their horizons. In proportions of ethos, which we thought would be relevant in this article to write something about, Fowler uses ethos by coming with an example from his own experience with hate crime because of his ethnicity, which makes the topic much more trustworthy. By including the story from Jonathan Mock too, he also uses facts which shows the reader that it is a bigger problem when it happens to other people too. This creates some kind of ethos to even Fowler that he uses through the article to build up his arguments, which makes them a lot more stronger. At last, the message of the article is to make the reader aware of the problem with hate crime, and because of the situation with COVID-19, the hate crime has a touch of racism because of the fact that the virus came from China. Evan Fowler wants people to know that it is a problem that needs to be fixed because the scenarios of hate crime are growing, but not growing that much as some studies would say.